1982,
Los Angeles reopened the case of Marilyn Monroe's death.
After 20 years, it's time to clear up this case once and for all.
the interviews have never been heard until now.
Since her death in 1962 at the age of 36, there have been so many questions about the final days of Marilyn Monroe. A new documentary on Netflix seeks to offer some new perspective.
The film pieces the story together with the help of 650 tapes that had never been heard by the public. Filmmaker Emma Cooper is here to tell us about it. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So were these tapes were associated with an author and a book, and was there something you heard in the tapes that wasn't in the book?
Yes, it was a book that was written in the early 80s, and I read it and I realized that there were things that I did not know about the case, and which led me to speaking to the author. And he had recorded all the tapes and all the interviews, and they had never been heard before by the public. And some of them indeed were not in the book, some of the wiretappers who had been listening in the weeks before her death. So I was able to use a lot of that material for the documentary.
Some of the most interesting things, you say there's real inconsistency about the way her death was reported, the timing of it, and she might not have actually died at home. Talk about that.
So the film tries to pick its way through all the conspiracy theories that we all know very well. And I realized through Anthony's work that the timeline of the night she died, he had really investigated it with multiple sources, and that there were things that were covered up and other things that we didn't know. So he found several ambulance drivers who actually went to the house that night and who all testified that they took her from her house towards the hospital. And they testified that, you know, she appeared to have died on the way to hospital, and then she was returned to her home. So that was very, very revelatory and very stunning to me, and very sad, actually, to discover that.
Does that necessarily mean there's something suspicious about it? And if it is that somehow connected to the Kennedys?
I personally never found anything that suggested that there was any conspiracy in the actual way that she died. It would appear that the timeline was covered up because, you know, Bobby Kennedy, we found some logs that Bobby Kennedy was indeed in town that day, and indeed appeared to have been taken out of the area by a helicopter from Santa Monica later on in the early hours of the morning.
You also have some tapes from the family of Marilyn's psychiatrist. What was revolutionary in there?
It was amazing just to hear about her as a woman and about her mental, her mental health at that time. You know, we're all very used to talking about that now. I don't think we were back then. It was very interesting to see how some of her behaviors and some of her emotions were to do with her childhood, and that, you know, she had felt like a waif. She had felt like an orphan very much of her life, and she wanted to belong and she wanted to be part of a family. And we discovered all of those testimonies from the records from her actual psychiatrist at the time, Dr. Greenson.
And so did you find things that the author didn't think were important that you thought were important, or do they just become important when you combine them with other things you found in your investigation?
I think I definitely pulled stuff out that was important to me, because I want the film to be seen by not just women, but I really do want younger women to see Marilyn Monroe as somebody who is a multi-dimensional figure who even though she's the most famous and the most beautiful woman in the world, an enigma, there's lots for us to connect with her. There's lots to comforting to us that we can see in ourselves as modern women. So I was definitely pulling out that side of things that were said about her and about her emotion and about what a wonderful woman she was in so many ways.
Do you come to a conclusion if it was indeed suicide, an accident, or something else?
I think it's hard to say, but I honestly saw no evidence that it was anything else than an accidental overdose. She had terrible problems sleeping. She really wanted to sleep, and she ended up taking more than she should in her pursuit of sleep.
All right, The Mystery of Marilyn Monroe, The Unheard Tapes is on Netflix, and you can find Emma on Twitter and on our website. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Emma.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Polly?